Hey guys, I'm Gem of Magic, and today I wanted to talk to you about the Pauper format. So, lately my finances have not been going particularly well, and I've realized that I can't keep playing at standard level, and I can't yet afford the decks that I would enjoy playing in modern. I have built some budget modern decks, so budget beat down elves, and I quite enjoy that one. But I wanted to try my hand at something at competitive level because I would like to try and grow as a player and improve my play. And I feel like one of the good ways to do that is to try using the top decks. So I've decided to get into Pauper format because one of the reasons I've always been a little bit interested in Pauper because we didn't really have when I got into Magic, I didn't get rares or anything. I got a box of uncommons for fairly cheap, and so I just got a whole bunch of commons and uncommons and not very good cards. And so my decks have always been underpowered in that extent. The other thing is we also have a lot of my husband's old cards from like the 90s that aren't modern legal. So that's kind of what our collection is. So our collection is favourable towards some of the Pauper cards. And also I want a cheap format. I don't like the cost of competitive Magic, but I want to be competitive. So I feel like this is a good way to kind of get the best of both worlds, because the top Pauper decks only cost about $50 in paper. So that's really cool. I'm really looking forward to getting into Pauper. I've been trying to make like homebrew forest walk kind of decks. They're a bit stupid. They're okay, but they're not super broken. What I want to do is I'm putting together modern bogles, so I'm gonna have fun with that one. And I'm just looking at all of the kind of Pauper bogles. Did I say Pauper bogles? Yeah, so I'm looking into Pauper bogles, and I should have a lot of fun with that one. And I'm just looking at all the decks and kind of trying to see which ones I'll enjoy playing. I just love the idea of being able to play something cheaply. And so lately I've been wanting to make starter decks for new players, and I'm trying to figure out what way I want to go with it, because there's lots of different angles. I'm trying to figure out what format is best for new players. I strongly believe that standard is not the best format for new players, even though it is the one where they can get cards, right, from doing like boosted drafts and sealed product. That is the way, but I feel like standard rotates too quickly. It's not good for people who, like most people who want to play Magic, we don't have tons of money. It rotates too quickly. It's a great format. I actually really like standard. I think it's very interesting. I think the fact that it rotates so often would be very, as someone who prefers deck building is my favorite thing about Magic. I think standard's great because it means you always have a relatively limited card pool, and it also means that card pool's constantly changing. So it means there's great room for brews, and that's very exciting about the format. And I can see why it's the best for pro players. I think definitely it's probably the best for professional, for professional playing. But I don't think it's the best format for new players who are trying to get into the game, because they will get frustrated at trying to keep up with the demands of the rotation. They'll get frustrated, and the cost will be too much. It's just too expensive to buy a set each time it comes out, just to kind of keep up, and then and then those cards rotate out, and you don't have cards that you can use for anything else if you're just a new player and you're just into standard. So I know that my friends got into Magic, and then they got out of Magic about 6 months, 7 months after. They got into Magic around the time of the Gatewatch, and they got out of it by the time Eldritch Moon had come around. They'd all gotten over it, and they didn't want to play anymore. I think that was during the time when the rotation was fairly quick. So they, yeah. Anyway, so because my friends got out of playing Magic the Gathering, I've been thinking, well, what drove them to that? What was a barrier for them? What was a barrier for them to not being able to play Magic anymore? One of the major barriers they talked about was the cost, the fact that it costs so much, and the fact that the cards rotate out. That was very disappointing to them. And, you know, they're all, you know, we're in our 30s, me and my friends. So some of us have children, most of us have jobs or university studies to complete. So people don't have the time to dedicate towards kind of learning as much as I do, because I'm the one who's a stay-at-home mum in our group of friends, so I have time to do research, whereas my other friends, they don't really have that time. The other reason that my friends stopped playing Magic the Gathering is that my my best male friend, he's quite clever, and he really likes playing decks that are kind of quite spiky, and really he really pushed his deck building, as did my husband. So my husband and my friend, they're both intelligent guys who, you know, did their research with, you know, the top decks, and also built their own things, and found, you know, real min-max kind of guys. So they just found ways to try and, you know, break the system a little bit. And then because they enjoyed the game so much, they invested a lot and made expensive or good decks. And then they would play against me and my other friends, and who were all quite new to the game and didn't have powerful cards. Our decks weren't very good. You know, just standard, what you'd expect a new player to make when they're trying to make a deck. And what happened was that my friend and my husband, they both just crushed us all constantly. So it became very frustrating. For me, I didn't mind it when my friend beat me, because he always had really interesting decks that would just kill you in really interesting ways. But I did mind it when my husband beat me constantly, because I was playing with just commons and a couple of uncommons, so I'd have like maybe 2 uncommon cards, and then like the rest just commons, and that was my card collection. My husband, he had either really like fancy cards from back in the day, or he'd built sort of like a new deck, you know, basically like he built like the Spirit Sisters deck when that was in standard. And he'd, you know, and he's just smart, and he researched lots, and I didn't research netdecks. I preferred to figure it out myself, and I still am fine with the fact that I did that. I think it was a good way for me to learn how to build decks, doing it by myself rather than getting the net deck list to begin with. Because even now, when I look at deck lists, I often find it very hard to understand how the deck works. I have to personally play with the cards to sort of really get a feel for them. And I like figuring things out myself. That's how I learn best. So that's how I did it, and I think that was a great way for me to learn. But the problem was that all my decks were, you know, quite underpowered compared to these, you know, very powerful decks that my husband and my friend had. So I felt very discouraged. I almost quit Magic. I thought to my, you know, I said at one point, I don't think I should play Magic. I think maybe I should just stick to deck building, because I was just so bad. My husband had played in the 90s, and then he'd had a break when he, you know, was 20 or so, and then he'd just gotten back into it. So he knew a bit more than me. I'd never played it before. He also had better cards than me, because he'd been, you know, socializing with friends who'd given him some good cards, and he sort of, you know, had bought some cards and things, and I just bought like some commons and uncommons, and yeah, so he had better cards, he had better knowledge, and my husband's also not a very good communicator, so he didn't really, you know, like he didn't really teach me like step by step, okay, this is how you play. Like he just sort of, we just started playing it, and that's how I learned. And he didn't allow me to do takebacks either, which was good. I didn't really want them. But the problem was that after a while it just became like target practice, and it became a little discouraging when I'd brewed a deck that I felt was good, and then I would lose like every single match, just because of the power difference of the decks. It wasn't an equal fight at all, even if I had been at the same skill level as my husband, which I wasn't. There's no way. Eventually I accepted it. Eventually I started playing with, my aim wasn't to win the match, my aim was to die as slowly as possible. So that became my aim, was to, see how long I could draw it out before I inevitably lost. And that was a good way to think of it. Once I sort of accepted, okay, I'm just being used as target practice for my husband to try out his new deck, I suddenly wasn't as upset anymore. And then eventually my deck building improved, and I became better. I got access to better cards, and I started to realize that actually I'm not I'm not a great player. I'm not terrible. It's just my husband's quite good, and my losing all the time was because I was a newbie who had crappy cards, so it wasn't any failing on my part. It wasn't that I was too stupid for the game. It was just, I was a newbie and I didn't have good cards. And that's what happens when newbies don't have good cards. They lose. So I did almost quit. The reason that I didn't quit was because I found Magic the Amateuring, and through them I also found the Lady Planeswalker Society, and I also found Tolarian Community College. So those three things, Magic the Amateuring, Lady Planeswalker Society, Tolarian Community College, they're why I stayed, because all of a sudden I saw people who played the same way I do, Maria being really funny and just like weird and stuff, Maria and Megan, their level of fun they had when talking about the game or playing the game, that was kind of similar to me. I found sort of kind of kindred spirit. And then Tolarian Community College, he's just, ridiculously supportive. Like, he's just the most, like, encouraging, like, sunbeam of a person. So that was very nice. Just, he's very much about building up the community. So I saw from him that, oh yeah, there is this big accepting community out there. And then Lady Planeswalker Society, I found them, and they just were so encouraging to me. I was going to go to my first ever pre-release, which was Kaladesh. Now with Kaladesh, I was so excited about the set. I researched it, I knew all, like, I went to all the spoilers, and I printed out the cards and I played with them. And I studied the cards like I was cramming for an exam, and I knew, like, all the story. I knew the background of the characters. I knew the, kind of how the aetherborn kind of worked, and their, pronouns and everything. And I just loved the flavor of Kaladesh. I love steampunk kind of stuff. I love aetherborn. Like, that race really speaks to me very strongly. The art for Live Fast and Die Young, when I first saw it, I actually cried, because it was just such beautiful artwork, and it's just so meaningful, that I really liked it. And because I'm primarily a black player, so before Kaladesh, I really typically enjoyed vampires. I don't enjoy zombies, but I do enjoy playing the vampires, and aetherborn are just beautiful. Like, they're such a great race. Anyway, sorry, got off on a tangent there just because aetherborn are very cool. But yeah, so I was excited about going to Kaladesh, and I felt like I knew what I was doing. I'd researched how to do, because I feel very nervous if I'm going into a situation where I don't know what the etiquette is, or what's expected of me, or what the rules are, like the sort of unspoken social rules that people don't really tell you, but then they get angry at you if you do the wrong thing, but they don't tell you. And yeah, that kind of stuff really messes with me. So I don't really have social anxiety. Like, I'm fine with talking to people and, hanging out and being social at parties and stuff. That's not a problem for me. But I do have etiquette anxiety, if that's a thing. And around the time at Kaladesh, I was having really bad troubles with my anxiety disorder. So I have technically it's a panic disorder. And that was really, stuffing me around. So, even going out was difficult for me at that stage. It's improved a lot, and that can actually be directly attributed to Magic the Gathering. So thank you, Magic the Gathering. But yeah, at that time, I hadn't been playing that much, and I hadn't really found the community, and I hadn't gotten that kind of confidence. So I was still very, very raw, but I felt very confident about going to Kaladesh. until until we decided that it'd be a good idea for my husband and I to do a sealed event using cards we had, because we inherited a whole bunch of cards from some of our friends who only play Commander, so they're not really, you know, once a set's finished, they sort of have all these cards that they don't really use or don't really need. So we got a whole bunch of cards from them, and with Theros block, we actually had enough, we just had enough rares that we could make a sealed pool for both of us. And you know, and it took a long time to set up because it's really annoying. You have to like separate everything into their rarities and then into their colors, and then you have to sort of make it even and but not look at it. And anyway, it was a pain to set up, but we did it. And then, oh wait, no, it wasn't Theros. No, that was a later draft, and that one I won. No. This we did with Shadows over Innistrad cards. Now, Shadows over Innistrad is one of the decks I like least. Shadows over Innistrad is one of the sets that I like the least. I don't like horror. I don't like zombies. I don't like icky things. I don't like tentacles. I don't like Eldrazi. I like vampires, but I only like vampires when they're like cool and collected and really like aristocratic. I do not like vampires that are insane. I don't like insanity. So basically I didn't like anything about that set. Is there anything I like from that set? I mean, I guess the clues are the clue mechanics are alright. I don't really like humans, you know, humans are kind of boring. The werewolves are cool, and I have made a all-female modern werewolf deck that I call Women Who Run with the Wolves, after a really good book. But I don't like, although I like the idea of my, you know, female werewolf pack deck, I love the kind of story I've created for it. And Arlen Court is really cool. She's a real badass. I don't actually like the mechanics of playing werewolves. I might have to revisit it because I haven't played it in a while since I've sort of increased my skill level a bit. But I just found the mechanics, it just, for whatever reason, it didn't quite gel right with my brain. It was a little bit too complicated for me, or complicated in a certain way that I find difficult. So just the mechanics of actually playing werewolves doesn't work for me. Anyway, so we did this with Shadows over Innistrad product that I think was my friends that they'd my group of friends, when they got out of Magic, they said, here, have these because we don't like them. So we were like, oh, okay, thanks. So basically we're kind of custodians of some of our friends' card collections because they're not interested in playing Magic, but they wanted to give it a good home, and they also know that if they ever want to get back into Magic, they can, you know, come and we'll put together a deck for them, and we'll, you know, share the card library with them, basically. So we made, so my husband made seal pools, and I got mine, and I hate the cards of Shadows of Innistrad. They're good. They're not my thing. I hate them, and I don't know them very well because it is that kind of, you know, horror kind of style that just, you know, completely turns me off. So I didn't know the cards as well as I know Kaladesh because I, you know, researched Kaladesh. And so I wound up making a deck. My seal pool wasn't very good, and I wound up making a deck that wasn't very good, and I didn't really know, you know, like I just wasn't really familiar with the cards. My husband got a deck in his, I think it had at least one of his favored colors, which is white, and then he just, you know, smashed me, and I felt really stupid because I had been feeling really confident in my ability to make a sealed deck. To make a sealed deck from Kaladesh. And then when I was presented with the opportunity to make decks from Shadows over Innistrad, I just felt completely like, like I didn't know what I was doing. I felt completely out of my depth, and it made me feel really stupid. It made me feel really, really unintelligent. And so I lost all those matches. And then what happened, which was really, really bad, was that I, you know, said, oh, you know, I didn't know what to do. And so my husband, he looked at my seal pool, and he looked at my deck, and he immediately, he just started changing it. Like, he just took over and started changing the cards around, and like was doing what he would have done if he'd had the same cards, but he just did it. And just the act of him pulling apart my deck and changing it up without really saying anything to me or asking me. I mean, it was a crap deck. It wasn't any good. But that felt really, like, I just felt like such an imbecile when he did that. That wasn't his intention. He's just, you know, not particularly communicative. But I got really, like, I just felt so, yeah, I just felt really bad. Like, I just wasn't good enough. And I felt like, oh, you know, if I go to the Kaladesh pre-release and I'm this bad at it, I'm just going to be a laughing stock. Everyone will laugh at me. Of course, we know that actually wouldn't happen, but I didn't know that at the time. So, you know, I just felt like, oh, I can't do it. I'd be a joke, and I'd be a problem for everyone there. I'd make it harder for everyone else to enjoy the Kaladesh pre-release because I'm so stupid. So that's kind of how I was thinking. I was really, really upset. And, you know, and my husband was like, no, you should go. Like, it's fine. But yeah, I was sort of like, oh, I actually, you know, I went from being, yeah, I'm going to go to Kaladesh pre-release. I'm excited about it. I'm challenging my anxiety by going to a new store for the first time, by doing this pre-release thing for the first time. I'm challenging myself in all these ways. I'm really excited about it. I went from that to being, I'm not going to the pre-release. I can't go. I'm stupid, and maybe I should even stop playing Magic. So that was pretty bad. What I did do, though, was I got on the Lady Planeswalker website on Facebook, and I made a post sort of saying, like, look, the first ever pre-release is coming up. I'm not sure if I'm going to go or not to Kaladesh. I really want to go, but I also feel really uncomfortable. I'm worried about the etiquette. I'm worried about, you know, being such a newbie and not a very good player. And I can't remember what I said, to be honest. I actually have no memory, but I did post about it in there. And what I got was I was just met with encouragement and advice, like such well-meaning advice from all kinds of people. And a lot of people would tell me their stories about how they felt when they first went to a pre-release. And and someone also mentioned, like, look, pre-release is meant to attract new players. It's casual. It's not a competitive event. It's just for fun. So everyone that goes there, like all the better experienced players, go to a pre-release with the understanding that it's for new players, and the understanding that there will be new players there who don't really know what they're doing. And once I read that, I was like, oh yeah, that is a good point. And yeah, and I think there was another woman who was like, yeah, this is going to be my first pre-release too, and I'm also a bit nervous. And so, you know, we all just, yeah, all these women and men just sort of shared their experiences and just really encouraged me and just said, no, go to it, like, go along, like, go for it. And because of them, I thought, yeah, okay, I'll go. And I felt a bit better. I still didn't feel as good as I had before the ill-conceived idea of doing a Shadows of Innistrad pre-release. But yeah, so I felt, okay, I will go. And then I wound up going, and oh my god. So I was in the car park. I was in the car park of the local game store, and the local game store was Ace Comics, yeah, which is a very much a I've been to that store before because it sells Dungeons and Dragons books. It sells, you know, lots of geek stuff. And every time I've been in there, I feel like a complete outcast. I've gone in there before wearing like a medieval dress and like with my glasses and everything, and all the guys just stared at me like I was a circus freak, and like they all stopped what they were talking when I went there, like I was some kind of freak, like I shouldn't be there, and they would sort of stare at me but not talk to me and not be friendly to me at all. And I was just, you know, geeking out about Dungeons and Dragons or something, and I was really excited to be there. But that excitement faded very quickly when I sort of felt like intruder alert. It doesn't help that the people who have worked at that store often participate in that same kind of response. Like, I would ask them a question and they would either flat out not answer me, like as if I haven't spoken, as if I'm invisible, I don't exist, or they would answer whatever guy I was with at the time, because I'd often go in with one of my guy friends or boyfriends of the time, and they would answer my questions to him. So basically, I knew that that environment was really unwelcoming for women, and I knew that, and I was like, well, I still want to go because I want to go, but I'd never gone to any of the magic side of things, so, and someone completely different runs the magic side of things, so I thought, maybe it'll be alright. And then I was in the car park and I was like, I could barely move forward because, you know, as I said, I have a panic disorder, right? Like, going to a new place with, you know, new people that I've complete strangers, that's not such a big deal, but like, you know, a new environment where I don't know the rules, I don't know the etiquette, I don't know what's expected of me, I don't know how to be good and be acceptable, and I don't know how to do the right thing in that situation. I just felt like physically sick, and I was like I was literally dragging my feet because it was hard for me to walk towards it, and I felt like I was going to throw up, I felt like I was going to pass out. I was just like, I don't want to go, I don't want to do this, I don't want to go. And my husband's like, no, just keep going forward. And I was like, no, I don't want to go. And then my husband was like, okay, well, we can go home, but it means you won't get the cards. And I just wanted those Kaladesh cards so badly, you know, like I couldn't even wait for the week for them to get released. I really wanted them. And I was like, no, but I want them now. And he was like, well, you know, if you want the cards, you have to go to the pre-release. So, you know, he obviously knows me pretty well, because my love for the cards managed to win out over my anxiety disorder. And if any of you viewers have an anxiety disorder, you will know that it's really hard to overcome an anxiety disorder. It's stupidly hard. Like, my anxiety disorders are much better these days. It rarely, you know, like it rarely affects me, certainly not to the same level it was back then. But yeah, so that was really cool. I found something stronger than my anxiety disorder. And so I managed to go into the store, and I felt really, really sick. And then, like, I signed up for went to the counter, and it's that guy who just, you know, treats you like you're invisible. And I was sort of like, haha, like, I don't know, I was trying to make small talk and, like, be happy, and he just, like, flat out ignored what I said. But, you know, he did sort of, you know, he wouldn't look at me, but he's like, oh, you fill out this form, and, you know, so that was all right. He did, you know, address words to me. And so I did that, and I got my DCI number, and I was feeling like, you know, like, I was really happy and bouncy, and everyone else was like way too cool for school. So I was like, well, I don't fit in, but that's all right. And then I went across, because their play area is in like a different room. So you just kind of like walk across the hallway and there's like a different room. And as soon as I got into this room, I was so happy. I was so excited. I was like, oh my gosh, because they had the, you know, the cardboard like Thopters and the skyship, the consulate skyship hanging around. They had all the like decorations, and there were all these tables laid out with, you know, with tablecloths and stuff, and all these numbers, and I was just like, oh my gosh, there's all these people here, and all of them like playing Magic. I can talk to them all about it. And as it happened, I actually knew a bunch of the people who were there. So I knew one guy who was like the boyfriend of like a friend who, just kind of like acquaintance. And then I knew like 3 other guys who were like friends from ages ago, who I used to like go to kind of board games nights with. And, you know, I didn't really hang out with them that much anymore, but my husband still kept in touch with them, and I think he still regularly plays D&D with these guys. So I knew them quite well. And so I was really happy to see them, and, you know, I said, oh, hi, you know, so I had some familiar faces, and I managed to introduce these 2 people who I sort of, 2 groups of people who I knew that, you know, didn't really know each other, so that was nice. There was only one other girl in the room. I didn't really talk to her, but yeah, because she was like with a group. I guess she was the same as me. She had like a group of her like guy friends that she was with, and and so then, you know, we sat down, we got the boxes. I was just so excited, and I dressed up kind of in a like aetherborn style. Like I was kind of doing a vague cosplay. It wasn't really a cosplay, but it was more like dressing up in the Kaladeshi aetherborn kind of style rather than, you know, exact replica of the aetherborn that's featured in the cards Live Fast and Die Young. And what I'd even done was I grow roses at home. I really love gardening and I love roses, so I grow my own. And I have blue moon roses, which are beautiful. If you like growing roses, I would recommend them. They have the best like fragrance. And one had just very conveniently had just bloomed like the day before the pre-release. So I cut that and I took that along, you know, like the rose and Live Fast Die Young. And I can confirm I was the only person in the room who brought a rose along to a pre-release. I came up with the idea that like I was like, oh, maybe each time I lose lose a match or whatever, I can give one of the petals to like my opponent. And then I sort of immediately was like, wait, no, that's weird. That's weird, Gem. And also, these guys are not going to want your, like, shriveled up, crushed petals of a rose. Like, no one wants that, Gem. Don't do it. So I was like, oh, wait, no, I won't do that. But I was really excited. And, you know, I was able to talk to people about magic. And then the judge started up and he was sort of like, you know, explaining. And then he's like, is there anyone who's new in the house? Raise your hand. And my hand shot up, but I was like, I'm new. And he said, okay, I'll come talk to you before we begin. And so, yeah, he came and he's talked to me and to my husband, because it was my husband's first pre-release as well. And, yeah, and he gave me, like, the advice on, you know, like, I think it was, like, the, you know, 17 sort of lands, 16 to 17 lands or whatever, and the, 15 to 18 creatures, and the however many artifacts it was. I think it was like 5 artifacts was kind of the max, you know. But I already knew all this because I had researched quite thoroughly, so I sort of like knew exactly how, like I'd researched bread, I'd researched I'd researched everything about how to construct a good deck. So I didn't really need that. But then he said, and if you have any problems, just, you know, put your hand up and I'll come talk to you about anything, any rules questions, any hassles. You know, like he didn't explicitly state anything, but I just knew that, you know, he was there for me if anything happened. Because I was a bit worried about, I was a little bit worried about, like, you know, if sexism kind of stuff happened. I wasn't overly worried because, you know, there weren't that many people at the pre-release, which is bad for the store, but was good for my anxiety disorder. So we weren't crammed in like sardines, so I didn't feel that uncomfortable. And yeah, I wound up playing, and everyone was so cool. Like, I played so many cool guys who, like, they all, like, knew, like, a lot of them knew how to play really well. A bunch of them were beginners, though, as well. I played very, very well, I think, for my ability at the time. The promo that I opened was Nissa, so that was really good. So that was kind of a nice beginner's luck kind of thing. And my cat is meowing in the background. Hopefully she stops. Anyway, and yeah, so I had a really good time. I didn't do very well, but I did well for myself. And I even won like one match, and I can't remember my exact stats of what I did, but I played well. There wasn't too many issues. There were a little bit issues, but I won't go into that today, because it was a fairly minor thing. But yeah, overall, like, it was really great, and I just felt so, yeah, like I had some really cool conversations with people. Like, I was talking to them about how I'd made D&D characters based on Kaladesh, kind of like artificers or aetherborn, or yeah, I had already made a bunch of D&D characters before Kaladesh pre-release was even out. And so I was talking to them about D&D, and yeah, and they were all like, oh, you know, do you, like, they all thought that I played better than I did. Like, they thought they were like, oh, you know, do you play standard? Do you do this? Like, which stores do you go to or whatever? And I was like, I don't do anything. I'm a complete newbie. I don't know what I'm doing. But I did know what I was doing with regard to Kaladesh. I had so much fun. So that was really, really good. So that's my Kaladesh story. I didn't think I was going to tell my Kaladesh story, but there it is. What was the point of this video? I think I was talking about the newbie players. Yeah, so yeah, so I'm trying to figure out a way to get my friends. I'm trying to figure out a way to get people into playing Magic the Gathering in a way that's friendly towards newbies. I don't think Standard is friendly towards newbies. Modern is too expensive. It's very the cost of it is prohibitive. It's a great format. I think Modern's beautiful. I really want to play Modern, but I can't afford it. I can't afford it now, and I don't have the card base for it. I just don't, and yeah, I can't afford the decks. I can't spend $1,000 or even $500 on a deck. The price is too much. I can't play it. And yeah, so that sort of left me with looking at Commander, which I was like, I have a Yisan, the Wandering Bard command deck, which I quite enjoy because it's kind of a toolbox deck. So the thing I don't like about Commander is that it lacks the consistency of a 60 card deck. Like I love with 60 card decks that you have. In fact, that's why I love limited, because there's only 40 cards. You're far more likely to pull the cards that you've put in. You're likely to see certain cards from your deck. I really, yeah, I don't like that aspect of Commander. I do like it with Yisan because you can just kind of you can get the cards that you choose, and I also love the flavor of it. Like I love bards. I'm a writer, so I write poetry as well. So I like the idea of Yisan is like sitting in some tavern somewhere, like singing a tale of his exploits in these like mysterious elvish forests to all these kind of awed humans, and each time he sort of changes the tale a little bit. Each time it's a little bit of a different tale. Eventually, what I want to do with my Yisan deck is I want to make song lyrics for each card, that like a little rhyming stanza or whatever, and just kind of each time I play a card, just like sing it. I get that will be frustrating, but it's something I want to do, so I'm gonna do it eventually when I have the time. Yeah, that's the only Commander deck I like. In general, I don't really like Commander. I feel it goes on for too long. Which isn't good for me because I have a back condition, so I'm not really meant to sit in chairs for extended periods of time, which is, makes playing Magic the Gathering kind of difficult. I mean, it's fine at home, but it's much harder. Yeah, it's much harder to go to store events and play because if I just sit in the chair for a couple of hours, I'm just wrecked. So yeah, Commander takes too long. I have a toddler, so I can't really devote myself to long games. I need short, quick games. And also, I also don't, I don't really like I've gotten used to it now, but at first I was like, I don't understand why we're not all trying to kill each other when you're playing Commander, because there's kind of the etiquette that you don't kill people immediately, like you let everyone play out. I understand that now, but at first I was like, I don't like this. I just want to kill people. If we have planeswalkers who are versing each other, if they're like an enemy wizard, shouldn't I be trying to kill them, like just straight away with all of my power? So yeah, so I didn't really get it. So it's not my ideal format. But I think it's a very good format for friends to play. I do think Commander could be a good format for some newbies to play, but I find deck brewing for Commander really difficult. Yeah, I find it quite difficult, except for Yisan. Yisan was pretty easy because I was like, well, I know I can get this, I know I can get that. But I guess some of the pre-constructed Commander decks, like if you get like a bunch of them and play them against friends, that could be alright. That could kind of work. But yeah, so that left, in terms of formats, that left Frontier, which I'm not going to go on a big rant about Frontier, but it's, yeah. So that left Frontier and Pauper. So I looked at Pauper and I thought, yes, I want to do this. I want cheap cards. I really do. I want to play with cheap cards. I want to play with decks. And then when I looked at MTG Goldfish, I actually looked at the cost of the decks, and the top decks, they're about $50. Like, they're about $50. I can afford $50 over a long period. Just to show what my finances are like at the moment, I can save up and slowly buy a deck that will equal $50. And I already have a bunch of some of the cards, not the older cards so much, But some of the more modern kind of like staples, the you know, like some of the elves and some of the yeah, just a bunch of the things I already have. So I'm really looking forward to getting into Pauper. I want to amplify the format. I have noticed that there's not many events that run Pauper. And I can understand why. Like, if you're a local game store, it's not really going to sell as much to run Pauper events. But there are still Pauper events in my city that happen, and I want to go along to them and compete in them. I would like to become a better player through playing Pauper. I want to grow and challenge myself and hopefully become good. I mean, I can't imagine I would ever become a pro player. I don't think I have that kind of logical brain. My husband is very good at playing. I could imagine him being a pro player. I can't see myself doing it, and I don't necessarily need to, because I think I will enjoy most playing at the local game store level and playing with friends casually. That's what I think. That doesn't mean I don't like being competitive. When I'm playing, I certainly like being competitive. But I like to have fun. And I just really want to kind of amplify the fact that you don't have to play Magic in one certain way. There's so much stuff out there about standard and competitive and blah blah blah. You know, like, it's very boring the way a lot of people play Magic, because I love the art and I love the flavor and I love the idea of kind of mixing. I like the idea of mixing role playing and playing Magic the Gathering together. I'm sure there's a way you could do it. I'm sure you could combine D&D and Magic the Gathering, and I'm going to figure it out, and I'm going to do it. Also, I want to make kid-friendly decks. So I want to make decks that aren't scary, like don't have, you know, kind of graphic art, which is going to be very difficult for black, but for other colors, for green, easy. But yeah, for other colors, it's not so hard. For black, it's difficult, but I'm thinking vampires. A lot of the vampires they show aren't actually doing anything bloodthirsty. They're just kind of like standing around looking really like aristocratic and awesome. So I think that's not too scary for kids. So I can maybe do like a vampire tribal deck, elves tribal deck, goblin tribal deck, and soldier, like human soldier kind of tribal deck. What is that? Oh, and merfolk, maybe. Merfolk tribal deck for new players. And I would like to make decks for new players. So the formats I think that would be good for new players are Pauper, and I also think, to an extent, Modern. The price of Modern is prohibitive, but if you could give new players the cheaper staples that are in Modern, like some just cards that are in all the decks in Modern, then later on when they get more into the game, they could use those same cards in their Modern decks. The same goes with, so what I want to make is Modern decks that have cards that are staple. What I want to make is beginners decks that have cards that are staples for Modern, staples for Pauper, and some staples for Commander as well. That way, the player can enjoy the deck while they kind of learn the basics, and, you know, not have anything too crazy. So not have things that have clues, not things that have morph. What other things are confusing? You know, just not have those kinds of things. Just have the basics, and sort of also introduce them to the colors. So there would be monocolored decks, but I would ideally include cards that form, 2-color or 3-color decks in Modern or Pauper. You know, so they'd be able to combine stuff later. So, for instance, you know, include some of the enchant. For Bogles, it's white-green, and it's got like green enchantments and white enchantments. Have those separate in the, beginner's deck, and then they can convert them together. Now, I can't do that with Standard, because Standard moves too quickly. It's too hard to make a Standard deck. It's too hard to make a beginner's deck that will have Standard staples, because by the time I've kind of figured out all the nuts and bolts of it, Standard will have moved on. I mean, I know this rotation is slower now, which I am grateful for, but it's still... Yeah, so the formats I want to focus on: Modern, Pauper, and a little bit of Commander as well. So give them one like big, beefy, you know, legendary card that they can use as a Commander later on if they want to, you know? So that's kind of where I'm going with it. I haven't quite 100% figured it out yet. I've got so many different ideas, you know, of directions that I want to go with it, and I'm still researching a lot of the cards, and I'm finding in my project of making these beginners decks, and decks that are suitable for kids. Ideally, they'd both be the same, right? Like, you know, why not make beginners decks also kid friendly? And by kid friendly, I mean like 8 to 10-year-olds. My son is 3, and he started playing Magic the Gathering a little bit. He sort of understands it. Not really, like we kind of make up the rules, but like he'll play alongside. So what he'll do is he'll get his Pokemon cards and some Magic cards, and he'll, you know, have his little play mat, and he'll play beside me while I verse my husband, and he'll gang up. He always attacks my husband. He always attacks Daddy. He's only once attacked me, and that was like last night, and that's only because I asked him to. But in general, he's just like, no, I want to get Daddy. I want to help you, Mommy. I like you so much. So that's pretty cute. So yeah, so my son has a couple of Pokemon cards, and because, you know, I feel like, well, the art's in general quite age appropriate. It's not too scary, unlike with Magic the Gathering. Some of the art's great and is fine for little kids and not scary, but some of the art is scary, so it's not, you know, like I can understand why Magic the Gathering does have an age rating on, you know, how old you're supposed to be before you play it. But what I want to do is make a format where you combine Pokemon and Magic the Gathering cards, because that's what my son started doing, and that's what I kind of did with him one day, and it was really fun. We kind of made up our own rules, and what I need to do that justice is I need to learn Pokemon. I want to learn it anyway because I want to learn it for my son, because he's, you know, he really likes the show. He's shown an interest in Pokemon, so I'd like to, you know, give him the option. He's also into chess, so I'm going to learn chess so I can play chess with him as well. Yeah, so I really want to do that. So I've got a lot of ideas of things I want to do, and it's kind of about making new formats or making decks for beginners, getting people into the game, and just kind of showing everyone that there's so many different ways you can play Magic. You don't have to be limited to just the formats that are already there. You can do new things. You can do anything you want with this game, right? Like Wizards just prints the cards. That's what they do. Once we own the cards, we can do whatever we want with them. For instance, there's those people who play that horrible flip it or rip it game. I hate that. It physically pains me, the idea of a card just being ripped. Oh, even a comment, I'm just like, oh, but someone else you could give that to a newbie who doesn't have, oh, it's so terrible. I just hate it, but other people enjoy it, right? And if they enjoy it, then go for it. Like, if that's what they want to do, crazy people, I think that's fine. And there's other people who don't even play the game. I hear stories all the time of people being like, oh yeah, I collect Magic the Gathering cards. I don't even play them. I just like collecting them. I was like, oh, that's a bit weird, but like, also at the same time, I can understand it. The art in some of the Magic the Gathering cards is great. And, you know, like collecting things, it makes sense. People collect stamps and haven't, you know, used them. People collect stamps who don't write letters. That was a really bad analogy, but I'm gonna keep it in because that's the kind of, yep. You know, so just because people don't play the cards doesn't mean they're not allowed to collect them. I hear people going like, oh, collectors, It's like, what's your problem? What's your problem with people appreciating the cards in a different way to you? Not everyone has to play the same. Not everyone has the same way of having fun. People play differently. And I've noticed sometimes there's a lot of like strict kind of, this is the way you're meant to do it. Anyone who does differently is weird. It's like, well, no, they're just doing things differently. Be a bit more open-minded, be a bit more accepting of the different ways that people enjoy the game. I'm going to be working on eventually I want to make a tarot card Magic the Gathering deck. So I read tarot cards, not professionally or anything like that. I just sort of do it for myself. And I know I could do it. I know I could put together a tarot deck using Magic the Gathering cards to represent the major arcana and the minor arcana, and kind of, you know, the symbolism of what those cards are supposed to represent. And so I'm going to be doing that. It's really hard though, because I haven't yet found a search engine where you can search cards purely based on the artwork. It might exist. I don't know if one exists, so I'm gonna, you know, hopefully find out if one does exist, but that's on the back burner because that's, you know, just a pet project. It's not really for other people. The other thing I want to eventually do is make a storytelling format where story decks, where you tell a story through your deck. Oh, gonna have to edit out that sneeze. There's another sneeze coming. Oh gosh. I think I need to vacuum this wardrobe because I think it's very dusty and I think the dust is getting to me. Anyway, so in summary, there's a lot of things I want to do with Magic the Gathering, and I'm really excited about being able to share with you my ideas. And, you know, some of my ideas might be really stupid and just a little bit too loopy and not entirely practical. I am known for not necessarily being practical all the time. And that's fine. I am fine with people digging into me and saying, nope, that would never work. That's really stupid. I'm fine with that. As long as you're, you know, polite about it, that's fine. But, you know, nothing seems to be able to dampen my love for this game. Nothing seems to be able to drive me away. I've gotten all kinds of strange comments, strange and rude comments towards me, and I don't care. Like, I don't care. If I was going to quit, I would have quit when I felt like an idiot, when my husband kept, you know, beating me at games all the time. That's the moment that I would have quit. I didn't, because I love the cards so much. I love deck building. Like, I just love brewing decks so much. I make so many, like, home brews that never see the light of day because they just don't really work, right? Like, I'm not that good at it, but I enjoy it so much. It's like doing it's like doing a logic puzzle. Like, it's problem solving, right? Like, you're trying to figure out the best way to do something. It's so much fun. I just love this game so much, and I just really look forward to sharing that love with you. Oh, that sounds bad. I look forward to sharing my enthusiasm for the game with you, and, you know, I hope people can tolerate me. If you can't, that's fine as well. I'm definitely not everyone's cup of tea, but some people will hopefully enjoy some of the things I have to say. Yeah, and I'm just going to try and communicate those ideas and see what happens. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll catch you next time.